Hello, Jay. Ooh, not connected yet. Hello, Jay.
Hey,
How goes the battle?
uh, going right now. Today is like mentally, emotionally draining of a day. So it's, but it's a good fight.
Yeah. Well, what better way to recover from it than to come here and argue with friends?
I think that's probably the best way to do it. I mean, I posted I'm doing this talk on like a analytical study, and unfortunately it's on death and death rates. So like it's very heavy. So having something to kind of lightly argue about and it not be so serious is going to be very refreshing.
Wait a minute. You mean you don't take this stuff seriously? This is not, fight to the death? I mean, what?
You haven't talked about Microsoft since I've been on here, so I mean, why would I be passionate?
you you've slid little things in occasionally which make me passionate. And so if I have a heart attack because of blood pressure because you bring up Microsoft, it's on you, buddy.
Well,
Hello, David.
How you doing, Chuck? Hi, Jay.
Good.
hey,
Swing your mic over, David.
Yeah, all right.
I'm David's mic tech.
No, it's been a long day.
What is it? Sound Jay had a long day. I've had a long day. Sounds like you've had a long day. What is it about today?
I don't know. I got stuck on a 2-hour Mac call today. That topped it off.
A 2-hour what?
Mac call, like a support call.
Oh, wow.
I don't miss those days at all.
Yeah, well, it's my career.
Yeah. Well,
Oh,
and
yeah.
it's definitely one of those that for a long time I thought was going to be mine. And then someone said marketing, and I was like, oh, that sounds terrible too, but that's not too bad, I guess.
No, I'm not complaining. It just was one of those days.
Yep.
Marketing is something that I try to take seriously, and I'm not joking with you here, because I think it's deadly important. And if it's done right, I think it deserves a C-suite table. But there's so many places that just don't do it well, and don't seem to get what the objective is, or to, I guess, the way to do it right, at least in my humble opinion. So
I agree.
I think the hardest part about marketing is there's it's just like HR. I think a lot of people look at marketing from the perspective of show the customers what they want, and that's not the case. It is give the most attention to the things that the shareholders and the stakeholders deem as important. And that to me is where, there's another side of it that's like ethical marketing that to me is more that traditional show the people what they want, but do it in a way that's not invasive of their privacy. When you take the human being out of it, again, not to bang my own emotional drum here, but working on a project that involves dealing with people who have passed away is easy if you take the names out. If you're just looking at data points, it's fine. It's this number is this number is this number is this number. The second that there's a name attached to it, the second that there's a human being on the other end of your data point, and you remember that, you stop and question, like, am I really doing the right thing? Is me asking this person for information that they don't know how I'm going to use it? Is it doing the right thing? And that's why there's a lot of obfuscation of who's on the other end. And I think that, in my opinion, one thing that I've always done, and that's why I like the industry that I'm in, is my job is one-to-one marketing. It might be me talking at a conference, or it might be me talking, in a classroom or at a lecture hall or whatever, but I can always see the people that I'm talking to. I can always interact directly with them. And if I wanted to, I can always take it down to a one-to-one scale. So for me, when I'm having those conversations with people, at some point I just forget who I'm working for, and it's me having a conversation with the other person. Whereas, the people upstairs, they don't see those people. So it's partially my job to keep a little bit of the humanity inside of the marketing, whereas other people are looking for their data points.
What can I say? I mean, I think you brought up a really interesting analogy there between HR and marketing, because both have evolved so much in the past, heck, even 5 years. That the things are not the traditional personnel department and marketing departments. That they have become so much more important because HR issues and marketing issues have become so much more integrated into everything else, that they need to be consulted. They need to have a seat at the decision-making table. And sometimes I'm not sure the people that are taking those seats are really qualified is not the right word, but properly focused, perhaps, might be a better way to say it. So, boy, this got philosophical all of a sudden, didn't it? Wow.
And then Andrew Orr shows up.
Hey,
I said, sure did.
Andrew sent me a link for a death metal concept album. I loved it. Thank you, Andrew. That was great.
I really like Eamon Amarth. So, yeah, I think they're pretty nice.
I'm not into the growling vocals as much, but they seem to, excuse me, they seem to be have a little more lyrical content to them, which I realize sounds like a contradiction in terms, but I liked it.
Yeah, I feel the same way. I'm not really into the super growly, like death metal, like doom metal, where it's just I feel like they're just showing off their vocals, how deep they can sing. I really like the lyrics, but if they can combine the two in a good way, like with this song, then I personally like that.
Yeah.
Andrew, have you ever listened to Clowncore?
I have not.
So it sounds hilarious in nature, and in some ways it is, but it's a fusion of metal and experimental jazz that kind of blew my mind.
I'm gonna write that down right now.
I'm doing the same thing. Clown, CORPS?
Nope. Clown, CORE.
Clown course.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. Okay. There's something to do after the show. Oh, man, if I make it. Darn.
Grab some water.
I've got it right here. The darn. We had some rain over the weekend, and so as a result, like anything that could pop with pollen is popping pollen everywhere. I mean, my car is green. My car is usually gray, but it's green right now with pollen. So, oh my. Let's see. So we have revisiting the WWDC keynote tonight. We have an update on shortcuts that Jim wanted to talk about.
Hey, Jim's not here.
He said he'd be here. Let's see. Oh, there's that article in the Washington Post that, I don't know, just things like that seem to be a hit piece, but it's not inaccurate. The scams are still there on the App Store, and we need to identify them a little bit.
Oh yeah. I think I wrote something about that too.
Okay. Then you become our expert automatically, Andrew.
A wild Jim has entered the chat.
Yes.
What?
Yeah, there's that Jim guy. He just won't let WWDC go. He still has the picture up.
My wife was on the feed before I was. All right, are my ears burning?
Someone got a green screen.
I've had it all along.
No, I'm talking about Frank.
Oh
Yes,
yeah.
I think that's a
Wait.
green screen.
No,
Looks like.
no, that's not a green screen.
You're muted.
You're muted, Frank. No, that's just the porthole out of his
No.
spaceship.
Basically, you're close. I woke up this morning about 3 a.m. and I felt cold, so I just pulled up the fleece. About 7 a.m., I woke up, went to transfer out of bed, and I look over my shoulder here, and there's a rift in the space-time continuum.
Hmm.
So I take a picture of it. I figure, well, let's Google it and find out about it. Do you know what that is? That's the Terpstra galaxy.
Spell that again.
The
Terpstra?
Terpstra galaxy.
Oh, with the P.
No,
I've
yeah,
never heard of that one.
TERP. You never heard of the Terpstra galaxy?
Brett has his own galaxy.
Yeah, I was going to
Yeah.
say, we gave Brett his
Yeah.
own galaxy. Why would we ever do that?
Well, it's known among scientists as the Markdown galaxy, but you know,
Hmm.
Gee,
I thought that was Gruber's.
Frank, what have you been drinking tonight already?
not enough. What? No, that. Hey, you got to come up with someone. You can't get the green screen to fill the whole thing. So I thought, let's try to get a galaxy in there.
That looks like one of those green screens that you're supposed to attach to your chair.
Yeah.
No, those are round. This is a big oval sucker that's supposed to hang. But my wheelchair's arms go back just a little too far, so I can't sneak into the desk. So what I'm going to try is I'm going to get a hold of some green muslin from Amazon, and hopefully like 10 or 11 feet of it, and just staple it to a dowel and put it up on 2 tripods. Then I can bring out my crazy stuff.
I noticed that the green screen I bought during the pandemic now costs half as much.
Yep.
Of course. Hey, Jim, can you give us a little more volume?
Hey, Andrew, did you bring your
Oh,
Smirnoffs?
How's that? Is
Uh,
that better?
It's somewhere. Right now, I'm drinking a beer.
I need to do something so those knobs don't change.
There.
Yeah.
Okay, so everybody sound off. Give me a test, Jay.
That's J.
Okay. Give me a test, David.
That's David.
Test, David sounds good. Give me a test, Andrew.
Check 1 2 3.
That sounds good. Give me a test, Frank.
Yeah, I be.
You might be just a touch hot, Frank. Believe it or not.
Really?
But
Okay.
don't mess with it too much. And test Jim.
Test Chuck.
Ooh,
Jim, you could go back now a little bit. Sorry,
way hot.
you cranked it up quite a
Well,
bit.
I just barely touched it. How's that?
Oh no, it's Kelly.
Try
Is that
again.
better?
Jim. Yeah,
Too
that's
hot
good.
still?
Okay, how's
Yes.
that?
Yes.
That's good,
better?
Frank. That's good,
Okay.
Frank. That's good.
Okay.
Kelly,
I feel like
we're
a dog. Good boy, Frank.
Yep. Kelly, you're doing mic tests. Give me a test.
Let me check my audio for Andrew. Can you hear this? Do you need me to turn it up?
Yes.
Just a little bit more.
We're already live, Kelly. Am I, Chuck? I'm not sure. Am I okay now, or what do you want me to do?
Frank,
live
just
stream.
touch it down just a touch, just a little.
Frank
Oh,
or
his
me?
name is
Yeah.
Jim.
You,
Yes,
Jim.
Jim.
Sorry, I said the wrong thing. Yeah, you, Jim.
I'm confused. How's that? Is that
Yeah.
better?
That's
I am
good.
so memorable.
That's good. Yes. Well, you're the one with the porthole out your spaceship in back of you. I mean,
There's
really.
I wasn't asking for a rift in time, and there it was.
Happens to
Hello.
the best of us.
Hello, Kelly.
Yeah.
Hi, Chuck.
I live in that
Kelly.
kind of a neighborhood.
Okay.
So there are
So,
only 6 of us or 7 of us.
so
Only?
far,
That's a good amount.
it's a
Yeah.
great number. Yeah. Yeah.
Somebody was saying we'd have nobody yesterday.
Well, I was watching After Dark from last week, and it was like the screen was like it was the Brady Bunch on acid. It was nuts.
I swear that sounded like After Dork, and I'm like, no, that's a different service. That Chuck
After Dork.
offers.
That's another podcast we do.
It's a different podcast. Yeah.
All right, guys, let's do this.
I'm
Everything
not
looks
guys,
good
but
here.
okay.
Well, it's a,
Underpants.
it's a, oh, Jesus.
Let's see. I got it done ahead of time, and
Okay, that's good. Just filling in for Jeff when he's not here.
that's right.
Okay. All right, so here we go. In 3, 2.
Underpants. Oh, I did it wrong.
That's right. Oh. No,
was
no, you got
this
it wrong.
close,
You
and
got
then
it
I'm like,
wrong.
No, I won't. But
Okay.
well played, Jay. You're
That's
one of
right.
us. You're officially one of us now.
1,
Sorry.
2, 3.
Y fronts.
What?
It's the whole rift in space-time thing.
You'll just have to watch the tape.
All right. In 3, 2, 1. Welcome to MacVoices. This is the talk of the Apple community, and I'm Chuck Joyner. Folks, it's Tuesday night. This is MacVoices Live. We are live on YouTube. We would love to have you join us there in the chat at youtube.com/MacVoicesTV, or you can always watch this later as we release it to the feeds and comment and send us emails. But the live chat thing is just a whole lot more fun. So, make sure you sign up for Tuesday nights, 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific, because that's what it is now, and that's why we're here. Tonight, we don't have a set specific topic. We have a bunch of little things that kind of came up in the last week or so, and there's no real hot news. And I think we're all just a little bit exhausted after last week's marathon WWDC sessions. So I definitely wanted, though, to do some follow-ups because we had a couple requests from panelists. We had an idea sent in by a listener. So that's where we're going to start. We'll see where it takes us. But first, let's go around the room, see who all's here, and find out who's going to be commenting on what. So let's see. I'm going to go from the top down and start with Mr. Jay Miller. Jay, welcome. It's good to have you.
I'm first. I'm first for something in my life for the first time. I'm first.
The new phone book is here.
Don't get excited, Jay. You can't cash it in for anything. Sorry.
Oh, poop.
David Ginsburg is here with us as well. David, good to see you.
Good to see you. Glad to be here. It's been a long day, but always look forward to being here.
Yeah. All that other stuff will just fade into the background
Yep.
as we dig in here. My death metal buddy is here, Andrew Orr. Andrew, it's good to see you.
Hey, good to be here. I'm glad you enjoyed that song.
I did. I'm looking forward to it. Now Jay has given us both something to look at, so we've got to go do that after the show. So, and folks, if you want to know, you have to pay attention to the pre-show, and then you'd know what we're talking about. Jim Ray has joined us. He won't let WWDC go. He's still got the picture up. Jim, great to have you.
Just can't leave.
Can't
Just
go.
waiting for Uber.
Yeah.
Let's wait for a ride.
Lift.
Lift.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Frank Petrie is here with I keep thinking it's just a look out of his spaceship window, but he claims it's a rift in space-time. I don't know. Frank, good to have you. Whatever.
Well, it's nice to be had, and it's a little cold in here, and the oxygen's depleting, so I should be able to get an hour.
Okay, that may explain some of your commentary as we go forth.
Yeah, that's a good excuse. I never thought of that.
Yeah. Last but absolutely not least, Kelly Gamont got here under the wire. Kelly, it's great to have you.
Nice to be here. Thanks for having me back again.
Hey, it's always a pleasure. It's always a pleasure. So I think we're going to start out. We're going to turn to Jim Ray because Jim did a little bit of research on some of our shortcuts discussion. And I wanted to put that sort of at the top because it wasn't exactly where we ended last time, but it was very heavy in the discussion. So Jim, what else have you found out about shortcuts coming to the Mac?
Well, I just had one clarification because we had a discussion about whether Apple scripts were going away last week. You may remember. And a lot of people seem to think that it was. And the short story is it's not. So Automator is probably going to go away, but Apple scripts is not going to go away. So the things that I found out about that were, first of all, they have actually built an AppleScript editor into the Shortcuts app on the Mac. So it's not just a question of, well, you could build a shortcut, and if you already had it sitting there, um, you could use it. They've actually built that into Shortcuts. So that's a first-class citizen. You can go into the shortcut editor as you're building a shortcut and say, oh, I need an AppleScript. Boom. You edit it right there. So, and then, see, I should probably go look back at that Slack comment I sent you. That's one reason I sent it in. Oh, right. I guess even better than that. I talked to some people Wednesday night, including Sal Segoyan, and he agreed that yeah, they're not going to, in fact, Sal said, my work is done, and I can retire in peace now. Is what what he said, and he was very thrilled about everything. Probably most of you on the panel know about Sal, but maybe if there's people watching that don't, Sal was at Apple for about 25 years, and he was the automation evangelist at Apple and was the person responsible for bringing Automator to Steve Jobs and getting that to his attention and getting it into the keynote and into the operating system. So I talked to him last Wednesday, and he was just thrilled with all this. And he said that, shortcuts clearly, they have a high profile. They've got a lot of capital that he was like, we never were able to get that much. So hopefully, they've got the capital that, they're going to make sure that automation goes strong for years to come. And, clearly they're not going to, put shortcut or AppleScript into the shortcut editor, have people, build automations with it, and then 2 years from now say, oh yeah, we're getting rid of that. I also talked with Mark Aldrich, who makes Script Debugger from Late Night Software, and he was like, yeah, I think this is, we're good to go. This is, if anything, it's going to, bring more attention to AppleScript, sort of as a side effect. So, and also I listened to David Sparks, the Mac Power Users podcast last week. They had an interview, and I don't remember the person's name from Apple, unfortunately, but it was somebody related to shortcuts, although I don't think it was a technical person. But he was asked about AppleScript, and he said, yes, absolutely, AppleScript is, a permanent fixture. It's not going anywhere. Automator is pretty much replaced by shortcuts. They didn't take it out, but they probably will at some point in the future. But AppleScript kind of does a different thing. And everybody I talked to had the same take I did, which was that the shortcuts team did a great job of bringing us to the Mac. Pretty much everybody was like, wow, they actually really did it in a first-class way that was very integrated with what was already there, in automation, and they didn't take anything away. They just added to it. So that's basically the story that I had.
Okay, well, thank you. If Sal sees this, Sal, you're not allowed to retire, period. Sorry, can't do it. We need you too much. We don't want you to go away. But I would think this has to be gratifying to Sal, to see as much time and effort and evangelism as he put into AppleScript, that it's going to stay there and have a permanent place. Shortcuts just makes it feel like it'll be that much more approachable, which, I really like that. Frank, you had something you wanted to add.
Yeah. I've been wanting to redo my rig here. As it turns out, my iMac is the last one that you can get Monterey on. So I was toying with going PC, iPad Pro centric. But this morning, I read something very interesting. And that's Pixelmator Pro has announced that they're going to incorporate shortcuts into their app.
Yes.
I gotta have that. And so now I'm like, maybe the iMac, because it had a nice looking screen. But as soon as I heard that Pixelmator Pro is going to do shortcuts, I'm like, if other, and this goes back to like what Patrice was talking about last week, it may very well end up being that the indie developers bring all this stuff about, and push this stuff forward, because a lot of the people that are looking into the code are finding some interesting little details. I watched a thing on YouTube the other day, 35 things that Apple didn't tell you about iPad OS, and the little noogey things that you would never think of that drive you batty. For example, one thing, I have problems with my hands, right? And so I tend, if I have my iPhone, to dictate. And the problem is when you hit dictate, it runs for, I think it's 60 seconds.
45.
45?
Yeah.
Apple has done away with that.
Yep. It's gone.
It will now
Very
run
good.
as long as you want it to, and you turn it off.
Which I'm
I mean, so
excited
I'm really thinking Patrice is on to something. I think the indies really are going to make this fly.
about. And when you think about it, I mean, literally that's where this came from, right? Workflow was an app that was built for iOS and put out in the world by the workflow people who just wanted to take advantage of some of the options available to you on iOS. And they were just basically trying to find a way to do some of the automated things that people want to be able to do, and repeat those steps over and over again. So like indie developers gave us this in the first place. I mean, Workflow was indie before Apple bought it and then turned it into shortcuts and then made shortcuts part, something that macOS could use. And part of when I was thinking about this, when we were hearing more about shortcuts and about things, about how things were going to work, even before we got the Pixelmator Pro announcement, a thing that I was thinking about was that it sort of feels like Automator was Apple's attempt to make the automation piece of macOS approachable to end users. That's why you get the little friendly robot icon, etc. But they were never able to do that the way shortcuts did. Even the way Workflow did, the way Launch Center Pro did initially. Like if you want to go back that far, however, I don't remember what year that was, but like Launch Center Pro, I remember that being an amazing thing. And I remember shortcuts, Workflow coming out and being something great. And then Apple bought Workflow and turned it into shortcuts. And I feel like it's really sort of Automator in its final evolution, so to speak, is that like this is a thing that's approachable, that a lot of people have used already, even if there's just like they have like one or two shortcuts with tiny little steps in them, that they're using. Like this is a way to bring automation and have those repetitive tasks, that happen over and over, like being able to sort of capture that process once and then hand it off to your computer and just tell your computer do that series of steps over and over again is really great. And I think like I'm excited about it because yes, I think Automator, I think it's Automator's days that are numbered, not AppleScript. I think AppleScript is really just going to be sort of the extra 4 cylinders of horsepower in Automator's back pocket on macOS, because you're going to have the opportunity to use AppleScript to really level up if you're somebody that was familiar with it already. Like this is just giving you a brand new set of tools so that you can wield AppleScript effectively. And for people who are really awesome, people like Andrew and people like Brittany, who use truckloads of shortcuts and build all kinds of shortcuts and are able to find all the ways to take advantage of all of that, being able to take that skill set and turn to your laptop and look at your laptop and go, now I can also use all of the power of AppleScript with all of the stuff that I'm able to do with shortcuts. I think that sounds really exciting. So like the people I thought of first when they were talking about bringing shortcuts to the Mac, was the first thing I thought was, what's going to happen to Automator? Because Automator's who's getting it in this scenario. It's not AppleScript. It's definitely Automator. And I'm sad because I really thought Otto, the robot, was very cute, but it was Brittany and Andrew and Rosemary Orchard and people who like, and like Jay, like people who live and die in automation and spend a lot of time there making it so that something repeatable can be repeated more easily and turning that into something great. So I'm really excited to see where this ends up. And then part of that's only compounded by the announcement from Pixelmator, and I'm sure more people are going to come along and go, yeah, we're going to do shortcut stuff too. Like, just wait, like, look at all the stuff that people were able to do when Workflow was an app that was available in the App Store, but didn't have any sort of special entitlements, didn't have any higher level access to anything, wasn't an integral part of the operating system. And look what people could do with all of that. And now that it is, and it's first party, and it's something where you get unmitigated access to the system. I know it's not like all the way down, but like you get way more access with shortcuts than you ever could with Workflow. And seeing what you can do with that is going to be awesome.
Yeah, Kelly, I like what you said, because it was something I had sort of indicated, that this feels so much more approachable, and yet it's still, the power of Apple scripts is under there. I think more people are maybe inclined to do that. We're very fortunate on the Mac platform to have some great automation tools at all levels. I mean, at one level, Text Expander is an automation tool. Keyboard Maestro is an automation tool, and I'm probably 3 or 4 others that I'm blanking on right now, but and they're from third parties. And we've had Automator, which was good, but it always felt a little bit limited. And AppleScript is a little intimidating if you aren't a coder or don't want to take the time to do it. And Shortcuts just kind of sits right on top of all that, and is so approachable that, yeah, I can figure out how to do something, and that's going to encourage me, since it wasn't that hard, to do something else and do something else and keep digging deeper into automation. And Andrew, I want to know what your reaction is to some of this new information, and how you see it fitting into your world.
Yeah, so Shortcuts for Mac was definitely on my Apple wish list. I think it's so awesome. And like Kelly was saying, like I haven't really dug into AppleScript that much, but I have used Automator, and compared to Shortcuts, to me, it does seem kind of limited. I can do way more with Shortcuts than I can with Automator. And I think it's great, as we were saying before, Pixelmator Pro is going to be integrated with Shortcuts for the Mac. They do already integrate with Automator, which is also great. But yeah, I guess it's just what we were saying before. I just feel like there are way more third-party services integrated with Shortcuts than there are on Automator. And Automator was probably, a first good beginning. And I feel like, with a Workflow acquisition, they learned from both that app and Automator and just combined it. And now they're like, trying to transition into this new world.
I understand from the chat room that Jay is bursting. So let's relieve the pressure.
Oh, no. I just have a general question. Does shortcut support mean that there are AppleScript endpoints developed for the application? Like, are the two one and the same? Is that what shortcuts? No. Okay. No. Let me lower my hand. Hold on. It was. Oh no! I'm just pushing all the wrong buttons here. All right, there we go. As much as AppleScript continues to live on, has anyone seen the old cartoons that has like the grandmother that is very, 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 very aged, or maybe Coco? Like, that's a good example where you have the grandmother in the corner of the room, and everyone's just like, one of these days. But no, she's still there, still kicking. I fully am okay with the fact that AppleScript isn't going away. However, I don't believe that new applications will provide the level of support with AppleScript that we have become accustomed to with these amazing apps that we have used for years. And a good example of that is an app that I use a lot, Craft. Craft is using Catalyst. Craft has AppleScript support. It is extremely limited. There are so many things that I cannot do because they've just hit the wave tops. They've touched only the things that they feel are absolutely important for like system level stuff. And other than that, they don't do anything else. So what does that mean? Well, like most programming languages, cough, cough, Perl, sure, it'll keep living. But to what extent? Will it thrive? Will it really, is this like the new coming of AppleScript 2.0? And I remember, Jim, you said something last week that I was like, that's not going to happen. It was like the idea of like new people being introduced to AppleScript and falling in love with it and being like, I'm going to make AppleScript the thing and it's going to be the best thing ever. I don't think it's going to happen because I don't think that the newer applications out there are going to support it at a level to make it happen. I think they'll do shortcuts. They'll let shortcuts be the thing. And anything beyond that, they're just going to go, oh, I guess you can't do it.
But
No
what
one
if it's
has ever fallen in love with shortcuts.
You mean
I'm
AppleScript?
sorry. I mean AppleScript.
Okay, I was gonna say I know
that-
two people personally.
No, I meant
who can say that
AppleScript.
about.
That has never happened in 25 years. And I
Well,
should
Sal,
clarify.
maybe Sal might
Yeah,
be in love with
maybe
may
Sal.
have fallen in love with AppleScript, but even that's only a maybe, and he's basically like
It's like
the
you're my
poster
child. I have
boy
to love you.
for
I don't
AppleScript.
like you.
yeah.
And I think last week, to clarify, don't think I've even used an AppleScript in at least 5 years, and I've never used shortcuts. I do a lot of automation, but not in those languages. But I do have friends that are my app supports AppleScript, and I have friends that are in that community for various reasons, like market late night software. So I'm pretty tuned into what's going on. And, I don't think anybody thinks that AppleScript is going to thrive and become, a big thing.
Mm-mm.
But in that community, every year, there's sort of like everybody's like, is this the year they actually remove it? Okay. So when people say AppleScript isn't going away, that's literally what they mean. It's not that it's going to get better but okay, it seems pretty certain that it probably isn't going to get removed for a long time because it's got its spot, and that's not going to take over or anything. But if you're doing work to invest in that, and that's also, and like talk about like, okay, like I'm really surprised that you mentioned Craft, has some AppleScript support. Like, really? They have any AppleScript support? That's kind of incredible. That's surprising. A lot of apps don't have any. And that's going to be a problem for shortcuts too. I mean, that's not really an issue of the language. It's an issue of developers seeing customers demand that we want to do this because it's it takes an investment from the developer, and if they don't see customers asking questions about it or wanting it, that's not where they're going to put their resources where they think they're going to get return on it. So that's and it's interesting because if somebody's added any AppleScript support, then they've gone over the delta, they've figured out how to do it, and so they could probably add more without so if people I would say you should go bug them and say maybe you already have, but do more things, and if they hear enough of that, maybe they'll do it. But I think that's a very customer demand. Developers see that it's not really a technical issue, and probably the way shortcut support is done is it's actually through the Siri interface of all things. You add what are called Siri intents, so that's how you support shortcuts. But probably the big issue with that is making points in your program that are accessible to the outside, period. So if somebody did add, Siri intents, it probably wouldn't be that much more work to do AppleScript also if there was any reason to. And most likely, well, in fact, actually already, since, shortcuts are accessible from the command line. I don't know if you guys caught that, but that means that an AppleScript could access shortcut enabled stuff. So if an app is supporting shortcuts, then an Apple script could access that. So it's all like, and it's all interconnected. So, but the good news is that, it does appear that Apple has, made a commitment that, yep, you could stop worrying that Apple script support is going to get removed at next year's WWDC. Because they just said nothing for years. And, now they've actually made a statement and actually put it into this new software. Frank, one thing I was going to comment on your thing. Now, I love my iPad. I could never imagine being iPad centric, but I would wonder why this Pixelmator Pro announcement would have any bearing on that, because if they add shortcut support, aren't they going to add it for both platforms? I didn't see that level of detail on the announcement, but I would think if they were going to add support, it would be on both Mac and iPad.
Really don't know. I'll tell you honestly, the thing is, I'm going to go back to the Apple Store this week. And from a financial status, for me to go iPad centric and using a trade-in with my old iMac, I could get a bit more going for the iMac financially. So when I heard that, they're going to bring shortcuts to Pixelmator, it just sort of seemed like one more little thing pushing me this way.
I see what you're saying. So it's not that you're deciding on the basis of that. It's just like you were thinking that you were going to miss having shortcuts for Pixelmator Pro on the Mac, and you're like, oh, yeah, I won't miss it. Yeah.
Well, there's several apps I love to use. I mean, when I was looking at the iPad centric, the one thing there was apps I knew I was going to miss. Rogue Amiga's apps, I love.
That's another app suite that doesn't have really good Apple script support. Is
Really?
Audio Hijack.
It does not. I mean, there's some, but it's not deep.
Audio Hijack has none. I've emailed the developer. They've just said, no, we're not going to support it. I'm hoping that they'll support shortcuts, but usually they're in a fight with just getting their devices working on
released
M1 chips. So.
Yeah.
Let alone anything else.
Well, yeah, Apple cut them down on something, didn't they?
They tend on the regular. Yes.
Yeah.
It's always just happened, and it's always about to happen again. That's just how it works with Rogue Amoeba.
One problem for developers is that Apple, they really poorly documented how to make an Apple script app. And it's not that hard, but it is hard you can't really do it just from material from Apple. You kind of have to scour Stack Overflow and find an old Matt Newberg post and, stuff like that. And, there's been no one at Apple promoting it or shepherding it, even to the point of putting the documentation together in one place and having some sample code. So, developers that do it, you kind of have to say, yay, you pushed through, all the obstacles and did it.
Well, I think part of what might make this more exciting is when you think about iOS apps are able to run on macOS via Catalyst. And so iOS apps that already have all kinds of shortcut support sort of for free could potentially, I don't know any of this. This is all conjecture. But it's possible that something that has good shortcut support on iOS, once it becomes a Catalyst app and that Mac version is released, then that Mac version may also have Mac shortcut support that would also be very easy to use. So it's entirely possible that a lot of apps that people are accustomed to running on iOS are going to get that sort of support for free, so to speak, because you don't have to do anything additional if it continues to be compatible.
That I believe is correct.
And that makes for a more interesting avenue. I think for a lot of people who are familiar with, I'm able to do stuff with Pixelmator Pro on my iPad already, and now I can do that same sort of stuff, but just on my laptop instead of on my iPad. I feel like that avenue might be more exciting. And then if you're somebody like Brittany or Andrew, hi Brittany, who's doing all of that automation on iOS anyway, then not only you won't bump up against the limits of shortcuts on your Mac, because if you get there's probably an Apple script that will do that thing that you're trying to do. And that might put you in an even better position than you were on iOS.
Your
been-
speculation is exactly right. That last year it was like if you made a Catalyst app, you had to remove the shortcut support from it. You know, if you had an iOS app and you're making a Catalyst app, they're like, well, that's one of the things you have to take that out to make a Catalyst
Okay.
app because Catalyst doesn't support it. And this year, you know, one of the sessions was like, okay, remember that shortcut support you took out when you make your Catalyst app? Well, just put it back in, and now it will work. So yeah, I think you're going to see almost everybody that, you know, makes Catalyst apps, if they support shortcuts on the iOS, then very quickly you're going to see that. And I guess also, of course, you know, on the Mac now on M1 machines, you can run iOS apps, and if they have shortcut support, they already have it. It already works. So, you know, I think the shortcuts is, you know, for Mac is a super exciting story. And the only AppleScript part of it is like, oh, a little bit of that excitement is going to leak over onto AppleScript.
I think so.
Yeah, that's basically, you know, yeah, the story is shortcuts and AppleScript is just this side thing, but it's not going away. So if you need to do something in AppleScript, you don't have to worry that whatever my investment is,
That it's
you
timing
know,
out.
is wasted.
So I've been trying to break in here and welcome Brittany Smith, who found her furry microphone and has joined us. Brittany, thanks so much for finding the mic. I mean, how could you disrespect the mic enough to lose it?
I was moving it from my last location, and I just hadn't unpacked it yet. It's been a slow podcasting week. What can I say?
Oh, okay. All right. Well, you've probably been listening to some of this, and we were just doing a bit of an update on shortcuts coming to the Mac. And so feel free to throw in any thoughts that you have, because we all know that you are a big shortcut user on iOS.
Yeah, and I'm really excited, and I've been a really good girl and not installed the beta on my Mac yet, just on, you know, my primary carry phone. And so I haven't gotten to play with it yet, but I am really excited, and this Pixelmator thing sounds awesome. There's so many I've used the built-in editing tools and the ones from Toolbox Pro in shortcuts before, because sometimes you just need to do a little tweak to a whole bunch of images, and it's real fast to do it that way. So it could open up some really cool possibilities.
I don't know. Maybe I'm just optimistic, but I have a hard time seeing developers not want to build in shortcut support. And something I wanted to ask Jim, though.
It's the hotness right now.
Well, it's the hotness, but it's been the hotness now on iOS for a while, and it's definitely the hotness now on Mac. And David, I want to get you in a second, but I want to make sure I follow up with Jim on this, because this is a programming question that I'm not clear on. Jim, you said that is it that you implement this through Siri Intents? Was that the right phrase?
Yeah.
Correct.
Okay, so I'll simplify my question, and I may be showing my ignorance, but if I build a Siri Intent in, does that support Siri and shortcuts, or is that just a methodology to be able to support shortcuts in my app?
I'm not 100% sure because I haven't done it, but you know, Siri, and I think it might allow some sort of, you know, I'm not sure. It's a thing that, you know, originally before shortcuts, they had this thing called Siri Intents that was to allow third parties to be able to, you know, you could Siri do this, and it could be a third party thing. So that's what that, you know, it's essentially reach into an app and do an action, which is what shortcuts does. So I think when shortcuts came along, they were like, oh, we've already got this. Because you remember workflow, it used to do everything by URL schemes. I don't know if you remember that, but workflow, you would communicate between apps by using a URL with a funny extension, which was sort of a very poor man's, although very clever, method of letting apps talk to each other. So when they brought the shortcuts team on board, instead of continuing that, they said, oh, well, we've already got this inner process thing on iOS. It's for, you know, we made it for Siri. So we're going to tap shortcuts into that. Whether that actually, I don't think that, I think there's something else. I think Apple has to bless an app. Like not every app doesn't, doesn't work with Siri. I don't think. I'm not a big Siri user either. You can't just. I don't know.
It depends what it is you want to do. If it's just open it, you don't have to code anything special to say, hey S Lady, open the app. If you want it to do anything in particular, you do have to talk. If you're gonna talk to her, I think that's a very different framework from the Shortcuts app stuff that you can do. Right, Brittany?
With the intents, you can do quite a few things. Like these are the dub sessions I'm going to watch like all the way through, right? With the intents, you can do a few things, like when you notice that, it says, would you like to use this app right now? Or would you like to like send a telegraph message to, Aunt Patty? Whatever it is, like that, it's like, oh, that's a very specific action, especially if it's within the app. That was a Siri intent. And in that case, it's being used as a suggestion, but it can also be grabbed. And I haven't played enough with it in iOS 15 yet to know if this is still true. But sometimes if you're like, I want to do this action and it's seriously not showing up for me, you just go into the app and do it a bunch of times. And then it's donating this, like, that's what they call it, donating this intent multiple times. And then you look in there and the action will be there. It's just one of those things. They want to like not overwhelm people with the options, which is not always what the power users want, but it is sort of like the tricky way to get the action in there. If you think that the app will really like donate that intent, if I want to add lines to a spreadsheet, which I absolutely have shortcuts for that, in Numbers, then I just went and added lines and numbers over and over again until I was like, do you want to add it to this one spreadsheet? I'm like, you know what I do? Thanks. So it'll be used for multiple things. It could be like that Siri suggesting it. It could be that it's an option in Shortcuts. It could be that you can create like, your own words for it, but it's used for multiple things. And I can't remember the other things.
I think
but there's others.
The
machine learning things.
The donating to Siri, that was the original purpose of the Siri intents. So that actually is from WWDC like 4 or 5 years ago. And I don't think it got used very much, but then Shortcuts came along and they're like, oh, we'll just plug that into Shortcuts. So if an app happened to have done Siri intents, which I don't think many of them did off the bat, then they were already ready for Shortcuts.
Yeah, and that was cool.
Okay, so if I followed what you both have said, that by building a Siri intent, I have the opportunity to hook Siri into my app and a shortcut into my app, and shortcuts, into my app.
You've made an action available to Shortcuts to use if your users decide they want to add a line, if your users decide they want to play the thing, and do the thing to the stuff.
There was a really good session this year about like what makes a good Shortcuts action. Yeah. For developers, especially coming from the Mac, who might want to try it for the first time, but also some iOS people could get the really like, in your face reminder of a lot of the times what we want to do with that is not inside the app. Sometimes it is like, when I use a particular timer app, I want it to start this specific interval timer. I want to do that in the app so I can keep watching the timer because I need help with time sometimes. Time is hard. And so I have this timer and it launches as part of a shortcut and I want that in the app. But sometimes you want the action to happen in the background and not inside the app. Like this isn't how it works, but I actually don't need to see that line in Numbers appear as long as I'm sure that it has done it successfully in the past. Like just add the line. I actually don't need to look at it at all. It does still actually open Numbers, but hypothetically, I don't actually need to see that. And so you could just add it in the background. And that's one of those cool, really deep linking things that Shortcuts has been offering as an option for third parties.
The reason I was asking, though, is that if the answer is yes, and I think I just heard affirmation, this means that it's more incentive for developers to add those hooks, because now they can do double duty for both Siri and Shortcuts.
Yeah.
So yes, so
I haven't played.
That feels like it has the opportunity to push automation and voice control
Mhm.
both together forward.
That was the goal, because originally Shortcuts was bought, I mean, Workflow was bought by the Siri team as a way to expand Siri by making it customized. Like, you know, Siri can't always know what you're thinking. And so, okay, we'll just tell Siri what to say and you can choose. Like that was their big push when they first announced Shortcuts, was you can like assign, this is what you tell to my little canister right there. And that little canister is going to translate into my lights, for example, and change my lights, you know, when you're not trying to play a song instead.
I
But
think
yeah,
it will also, I think we will see more come to this, mostly because it's sort of more worth it if you can do it for both your iOS app and your macOS app. Or, you know, I think like if you maybe only had, if you had an app that's available on both platforms, and maybe you didn't spend a lot of time on building any of the intentions or any of the shortcut abilities in the iOS version, because like I don't want to have to build it in the iOS version, it's not going to do me any good on the Mac version. But now that you can do it for both, maybe there's an opportunity there that people will see like there is a benefit to spending that time, because now I will have it on iOS, but I will also have it on Mac OS, and that makes it more interesting to me and more worth my time to be a thing that I'm going to develop. You know what I mean? So I think it's possible that this is going to just get more popular, and that all this is going to do is increase adoption of shortcuts, particularly for people who are huge shortcuts fans on iOS who also have Macs and are super familiar with how it works and how to put a shortcut together and what kind of things you need to do and what makes a good shortcut. Like that's going to be a thing where I think like this summer we're just going to see like a wave of, I'm being really optimistic, but I think we're going to see a wave of people saying like, here's all the interesting things you can do now that you have AppleScript to back up all of the stuff that you're doing in shortcuts. So yeah.
David, you've been awfully quiet here, and I don't want to leave the shortcut discussion without getting your thoughts, because I saw a comment you made in our private chat here on, and
Yeah.
I'm definitely not in the Brittany and Andrew camp, but I feel like I'm a little closer to your camp.
Okay, so I don't feel so outnumbered here. Yeah, I mean, I've dabbled in shortcuts. I've used them on iOS. I have a few of them. You know, I'll go to Mac Stories. Federico Vitucci's got amazing archive of shortcuts to play around with and try to look at. In fact, I was going to go back on my bookshelf. I have Sal Zagoyan's AppleScripts book behind me here that's been sitting on my shelf probably for the last 10 years probably, and wanted to learn more about it, and you know, just it ended up back on my bookshelf. So I mean, there's a lot of benefits to it, a lot of things I'd like to learn more about. You know, working in the enterprise, I have to learn more about PowerShell, because PowerShell's on the Windows side is and the Mac side for that matter, but PowerShell does work on Mac. There's a lot of automation that we do to make things easier to manage things, and I'm sure Kelly can attest that too with some of the things she works on. So it all has some great things to do, and I just like you, Chuck. I haven't really delved into it too deep.
Yeah, I keep finding little things that I feel like will benefit me, and when I do apply shortcuts to them, it's like, yeah, this is great. My problem, like I think like a lot of people, is just recognizing that I do these 3, 4, 5 step things, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 step things on a pretty consistent basis,
Right.
and don't really even think about it, because that's just the way I've done it. And I need to recognize now that if I take just a little bit of time, if I take 10 minutes to half an hour and figure out a shortcut for this, then I save all that time every time I do it.
Yeah.
It's not a small thing.
The other benefit is once you've got it in, it won't ever make a mistake. It'll be done correctly every time. So that's the other big benefit of automation. Sometimes that's even a bigger benefit, where even if it takes you so long to create the thing that, you know, it's going to take you a long time to pay back the savings, but the fact that it's playing back accurately and you don't have to worry about how did I do that again? Just press the button.
Yeah. Let's move on from shortcuts because we didn't. This is a topic that keeps coming back, and there's a lot of interest here by the panel, and I let it go, folks, in the chat room, and for those of you listening, because think about what just happened here. We had one person say that shortcuts on the Mac may change his decision, his purchase decision. We're hearing about efficiencies. We're hearing about the programmer's view, and we also hear now that shortcuts will tie in with Apple scripts. And Apple scripts are hugely important to a lot of industries out there and a lot of industrial users for a whole lot of things. So the fact that, first of all, it's not going away is great news. Second, the fact that it may be even a little more accessible through shortcuts is even better news. So I think we'll be coming back to this on a pretty regular basis. I did want to just let us touch on WWDC keynote now that we've had a full week, a little bit better than a week to digest everything. And Frank, you said something about that you saw a video with all these things that, we didn't really pick up on initially. So to the group, anything that has come up in the last week that really rattled your chain and said, wow, this is going to make an impact for me. Beyond just the major announcements?
I found that basically I watched one on iPad OS, iOS, and Mac OS. It was on Zone of Tech. And it wasn't like, it was strange because there wasn't anything major. It's like I was saying about the thing about the dictating. The interesting thing that they kept going on about was, Apple was showing us all this other stuff. Why didn't they show us all the things they sort of fixed? Stuff that we've wanted.
But
for some reason, Apple. Keynote. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, but neither does not showing up with hardware that everybody thought was going to be there. They would have been better. I think there would have been less damage. If they had pushed that, look, we've fixed this stuff, we've tweaked it, we finally oiled it, we changed the spark plugs on it. It's running fine now. Unfortunately, the car hasn't arrived.
And this is the first time in history that everyone has agitated for Apple to do a thing that Apple didn't do. The first time in history. That's absolutely not true in any way, shape, or form.
I feel like for those listening to the podcast, you could not hear Kelly's hair flying in the breeze.
We got to get sound. Hey, Dave, get your sound effects going. Get Steam Deck going.
Frank, I hear what you're saying, but I agree with Jay's comment, but even more so, we already had a 2-hour keynote. And think about all the things that we've learned subsequently, fixed or not, just little things. I mean, we could have been there for 2 days going through some of this. So I don't think you can damn Apple for that. I think that's just part of the game. That okay, so we do a revision to an app, and we fix this.
And that's not even how they would say it. They would just say it works this way now.
Yes.
You're welcome, as opposed to like it used to be broken and we fixed the broken part, and so here's your fix. That's never going to be anything Apple's ever going to say in one of those kind of events, like ever. It doesn't matter what one it is. It's never going to be we fixed this thing. It's going to be you have this now. When you click on this button, nothing crashes. Like they're never going to say it like that. It's going to be like you do this, you're welcome.
I've got one that's like a really tiny little touch that I super appreciate. I don't want anyone to like choke on anything, but I actually use my phone as a phone fairly often. And I have been guilty of brushing my arm past my pocket and going on mute and not knowing it. It now makes a sound when you mute and unmute.
Well, I know it.
Oh.
Yes.
How about pocket FaceTiming? Did they fix that?
I've never actually done that, but I have done the mute thing, and so now it makes a sound, and it's one of those like, well, duh things that Discord does, but it was something that they learned from a competitor and brought it in, and I really appreciate it.
Wait a minute. First of all, you're talking about the beta, Brittany?
Yeah.
Okay.
Mhm.
Okay.
On iOS 15.
So,
It's a
okay,
thing they
so-
added to iOS 15 that nobody tooted a horn
It
about, but exists.
Didn't make it on stage.
okay. So,
And it has improved my life already today.
So what you're saying is that if you're talking to me and you hit mute, you get a tone. I don't get a tone because that would
You don't
be
get a
stupid.
tone. I get a tone.
you
So
get a
now I
tone.
might,
Okay.
I've got a chance of knowing that they're not hearing my rant for the next 15 minutes.
That's
Okay.
cool.
Yeah, it's nice.
So
A thing I
you'd said like
appreciated-
that was the thing, and that was one that I
It's
thought of.
as if people at Apple actually use their own stuff,
like this is the
which
first
often
yeah,
isn't
like,
the case.
in 2020 people actually resorted to making phone calls on their iPhones and went, wow, we got to fix this, and so now it's fixed, right? One that I noticed was that split screen and slide over are going to be much easier to use, which right now is a giant pain in the foot, we'll say. Foot, yeah, that's it. Foot. It's a huge hassle to try and get into split screen mode, to get into slide over mode, and they've got the little drop down at the top now, so you can just tap on that and do it a lot more easily than you can do it in iOS 14. And I'm very excited to get a good look at that and start using it, because I think it's going to be something I really appreciate. So that's something that I'm
Wasn't that in
definitely
the
looking
keynote?
forward to. Yeah, that was in the keynote. That's a thing that is like a fix, but they never really talked about, like, we made it less dumb to do this thing that is currently stupidly complicated. Like, it's just, look at this look what you can do now, and it's great. The thing that I thought was the hugest thing in iPadOS was the thing that they literally said and then never showed and never made mention of the rest of the keynote, which was drag and drop has come to iOS, and now we're going to talk to blah 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 about the blah blah blah, and like, whoa, drag and drop. But like that was literally like the entire sentence was drag and drop is now on iPadOS, and that's all they said.
Yeah.
You know what I've heard them
Didn't
talk
they
about
show
a
it?
lot. Oh, I'm sorry.
I thought they showed that in the keynote.
They showed
Like,
it between
As they
iOS
said, drag and
Mac.
drop,
No, they showed it drop
and that was it.
going from one app to another within iOS.
But that was
Honestly,
like,
I don't
but
know how
it was,
to do it, and I'm on it.
It was as they said, and
Mhm.
drag and drop has come to iOS, and then that was it. That was like all the mention of it. There was no here's
No,
how
they
it
showed-
works or anything.
They showed
no,
showed
Andrew,
doing
I'm
it.
not drunk. That's really.
I think that
saw
was
it. I
with
there.
Universal Control. They had the
Oh,
drag a thing over to another thing.
That's
No, that was
Brittany
a
just
different
figured
thing.
it
But
out.
they,
Just the three
I
app-
remember seeing them dragging
iPad,
a file or something and dropping it.
Yeah.
Onto,
don't remember seeing it, but I
there
just
was,
did it
There
and it
was
was
so
cool.
much, it was just
Yeah.
like that keynote was packed.
yeah,
It was-
it must have been
there's-
universal control, which I thought was
Yeah, that was pretty.
completely a game
witchcraft.
changer.
It's
But I was
witchcraft.
confused because both iOS and iPadOS have had drag and drop for a while, but that's just on their own separate.
But only within an app. So now,
within its own app.
now
This
it
is
allows you to
across.
drag it from one app to another. It had to be in the keynote because that's the only way I would know about it.
Mhm.
I tell you, the
But it
thing
was
that
like-
got me though is when they showed that they dragged from an iPad through a MacBook to an iMac.
Yeah.
Now, other than geeks, who own all those?
Well, everybody has an old iMac or an old laptop,
And it's sitting in the
a-
garage.
and a slightly less old either iPad or current Mac, and then a current Mac. Like lots
Frank-
of people have that, so it's possible.
Frank, this is a developer conference. We all
Yeah,
have
sure.
that.
Okay. Yeah.
There's a like.
Oh,
that's-
thanks. Lemon in the wound.
Well, that's one of those moments that I think sort of reminded people it was a developer conference, because this event has morphed over the years into something slightly different as the entire world tunes in to see what the next version of macOS and the next version of iOS are going to look like. Like this didn't used to be the thing that it is now. The iPhone changed that. Like, I think
Right.
we can draw a pretty clear line in that sand, but like it didn't used to be a thing that anybody really cared about, except that in the olden days, when you had to stream the announcement over a dial-up connection, yes, dial-up. You heard me. Ask your parents. When you had to use a dial-up connection to look at the stream, then you ended like that was when we used to get new laptops, because we used to get new software in January and new hardware in June. That used to be the rule. Like such as it was. And, and then eventually like with the iPhone, all of that changed. And so like this has turned into a very different event as more people have become Apple users, whether it was macOS or iOS or tvOS or watchOS or whatever the crap else they were announcing in that 2-hour thing. But it's a very different event than it used to be, because like, I think David, I was talking about it with you on In Touch with iOS, where I was a guest recently, not once, but twice. And we talked about how like they did this Monday, and Tuesday morning, every network morning talk show was talking about, I guarantee it, I didn't watch it, but I guarantee every one of them had a bit about Tim Cook unveiled the new version of operating system for your phone and your computer yesterday.
Yeah.
And here's the 3 things that you need to know that, you can look forward to when it comes out. Like every one of them. And it used to be that there was nothing. If Apple had burned down one infinite loop, it wouldn't have rated a mention on a morning talk show. And now this is where we are. So it's a very different event than it used to be, which I think also shows in some of the stuff that they choose to give us in the morning keynote, and why sometimes the afternoon event feels so very different than the morning one, because everybody, like the rest of the world, quits paying attention after the morning one is over.
Right.
And like sort of the real keynote, this is the thing I've heard about Dub for years, the real keynote is the State of the Union that happens in the afternoon.
Actually, I think until last year, the rest of the world couldn't even see the State of the Union.
That's true.
Yeah.
You had to have a ticket. Yeah.
No, it's been available on the app for a couple
to
years.
developers.
Yeah.
You could have the free account and get it.
Yeah, but you had to register for a developer account. It was a low bar, but there was a bar. Yeah.
Okay.
But Frank, I think one point that we haven't talked about though, and your point is well taken. Who has all the devices? Well, yeah, there are a lot of the audience to this show that'll have those devices, and definitely this panel. But I also think there's a larger issue of just demonstrating the Apple ecosystem and what Apple is building into it. And, is that particular demonstration going to sell a company on adopting Macs for some or all of their workers? I don't think so. But at the same time, it's going to simplify things. It's going to show that, this is an organization who is building things that can work together. And I think that at a 30,000 foot view is very, very important. That we continue. We sit here and grouse a little bit about, are the platforms coming together? Oh my God, this is fantastic, or this is the end of days, depending on your point of view. But at the end of the day, I don't think it's such a bad thing for the real users out there who have those devices and want to move things, and they have something on their iPad and they want to move it to the Mac, and it's like, now, how do I do this now? Can I send it through iCloud, or should I try to export it to Dropbox, or do I do it through AirDrop, Sidecar, email? I mean, how do I get this done?
Yeah,
and showing and making it easier and showing how it can be done, I think is really, really important.
And remember, Apple's got way more customers on iOS than they do on macOS.
Orders
and they want to, bring more of those customers over. It's like dump your Windows thing and come on over here. So I think that's what that kind of feature is about. Try. I don't think by itself it's gonna do that, but it's just one little. If I had a Mac instead of a Windows machine, I could control them all with one mouse and one keyboard.
I think David could attest to that when Christopher Lawley was at the user group meeting.
Yeah, no, it was definitely different. That's for sure.
Oh, I watch him constantly. He's amazing.
The only issue that I have with what Chuck was saying was it convincing people on their iOS devices to move to the Mac is you have to initiate this from Mac OS. So you're like, I don't see how people that are on an iOS devices go, how do I get this to my computer? They're like, oh wait, first thing I have to go fire up the old thing that isn't running anymore. Let me cut it on and see what happens. Oh, I haven't even installed Monterey yet. Well, this isn't going to happen. I think if AirDrop didn't do it, I don't think this is. I think I agree with you in that it is a business. It's a business idea that is a beautiful story. It's a beautiful what I like to call a demo piece. Sometimes you have a great thing you want to show because it's like, now watch everybody go, ooh, when you do it. But ultimately, I don't think anyone outside of folks that listen to this show or all of the other Mac and Nerdistry are going to ever find out about this unless it's by mistake. But when they do find out, they're going to have their minds blown, and that's always fun to watch.
Yeah.
But Jay, I hear what you're saying, and I agree with it. But I think we're doing it again. That's the way it is right now. What will it be in a week, 2 weeks, a year? It's yet another step forward. And that's why I said what I did about the 30,000 foot view. I think that we have to look at so many of these developments, small and large, from that perspective, because Apple plays the long game. We all know that. Mm-hmm. And if you're taking a short-term view, then you're really missing, I think, a lot of what has made Apple great, and I think will continue to make Apple great.
I wanted to add,
David.
just going back a little bit to, you were talking about Brittany finding discovering new features that they didn't even announce at all. And I just find it intriguing, the fact that there's been a lot more, I guess we could call them Easter eggs, that things that they never really said that's out there, and it's out there. Like today, there was an article in Mac Rumors talking about the Files app now being able to click and hold and drag a selection and be able to pull everything over, as well as compress, move, and copy, and all those things. So that you have that activity. And then the other thing too, as well, which interests me only because of working with Windows, that it's supporting NTFS read only. I mean, because you are going to get dry. Someone might give you a external media that's NTFS formatted, and then you need to be. I hope not, but
no, they will. It's gonna happen.
What is iOS is supporting that? Is that
iPad OS and iOS? Yeah, is supporting it through the Files app. You can plug that external device in, and it's going to be read only, but you'll be able to at least get the files and copy them over onto your iPad.
Hallelujah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So those,
when you hook it to a Mac, is it also read only?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. So they just ported. Yeah, you're going to see more and more of that, where the platforms just do the same thing.
But my point is, it's interesting to see what's been happening with this version of iOS and iPad OS, that they're doing a lot of things that they aren't thinking that are very important, but there's a lot of people out there like us that are out there looking and seeing what's different, and it's something that people aren't talking about. And this is some cool stuff. I'm pretty intrigued if there's going to be more. I bet there will be.
I've got two words that I keep hearing on YouTube about iOS: progress bar.
Oh.
You wouldn't believe how people think that's manna from heaven.
It
Now
is.
they can go into their files, and it's like, look, I don't have to sit there and sort of guess how long it's going to transfer. It shows the minutes, the time, and I know what to do. But people are just little things like that. That's the stuff that
That's
grabs
the
you.
magic.
So
exactly.
forgive me, I'm missing it. What progress bar to do what on iOS?
If you were dragging a file from your hard drive into the files folder on iOS on the iPad,
right,
there was no way of knowing how fast it was going. You had no idea how much was being downloaded, how quickly, or what. And people kept screaming, please, please, we want a progress bar. And sure enough, they brought it to this beta. And I swear to you, about maybe 80% of the YouTube channels I watch who are going over the beta, that to them was the greatest thing. It was the second coming.
It's massive. When it's done. Like, it's a very, very simple thing that should have been part of the Files app from 1.0 in my estimation. But here we are. And so we finally got it. It's very exciting. It feels copy paste level of fundamental difference in what I'm getting from the operating system and how I'm able to interact with it effectively. So I'm very excited about that.
Yeah, it was mentioned in that same article I just mentioned, and I put in our chat. That's pretty awesome. Could be able to. You never knew how long it was going to take to copy. From one source to another on an iPad. You just never did. Now that's awesome.
So then, I think you're all kind of making my point that all these little changes.
Right.
There were some that were annoyances. There were some that were more than annoyances. There were some that were only important to Frank, but they weren't important to David. They were critical to Brittany, but Kelly couldn't care less. And if you were if it was important to you, then it's like, why doesn't Apple do this? And if it wasn't important to you, then who cares? So there you go. Andrew, I think I interrupted you. Sorry.
Oh no, I was just going to mention there was another feature coming to iOS and iPadOS and macOS that they didn't announce on stage, but I think it's still pretty important. And Kelly and I had discussed this on a episode of PDO, and that is iCloud Keychain will now be able to support two-factor authentication codes.
TOTP, time-based one-time passwords, are part of
Yeah.
iCloud Keychain. Yeah,
Yep.
that was actually on Andrew's wish list. So now Andrew has taken the victory lap on a subsequent episode of TVO, and now Andrew is a respected Apple pundit, and every goofy ass thing he says for the next 10 years, we all have to believe because he was right about this thing this time.
I will
That's
just
okay.
share my wish list with everyone.
I don't make the
There you go.
rules, y'all. That's just how it works.
There you go.
I quoted your article on the podcast as well. So
Oh, awesome.
But it's one of those things that, again, like Andrew said, like it didn't even rate a mention in the keynote, but it's massive because it's the kind of thing that's just going to make everybody's security better. It's exactly the kind of stuff we want Apple to do. Like Apple went, yeah, you know what? Backups, like trying to back up your stuff sucks rocks right now. We're going to try and make that better for you. And they gave us Time Machine, and Time Machine, after a fashion, Time Machine did make it easier for anybody to back up, for anybody to have good backups, to have backups that reach back over time. And that's important because that's like a lot of people who wouldn't necessarily sign up for Backblaze or get Carbon Copy Cloner and set up a hard drive and do all of the things, like we'll find it pretty easy to like poke a hard drive in the USB port and run Time Machine and call it a day. So that is a thing that Apple has done to help loads and loads of people preserve data. And this is a thing that's helping loads and loads of people level up security, because the TOTP thing is just making it easier for people to have more security and a higher level of security with the stuff that they're doing. And it's part of the operating system, which means you're getting it for free. So at a minimum, if you just let iCloud manage your passwords, you're doing so much better than you were.
Yeah. I want to welcome Mark Fuccio. He snuck in here on me. Mark, thanks for joining us. You're coming in late, and so I'm not sure how much of the show you've heard.
Almost nothing. I am in late, and I'm in your back. I'm in your neck of the woods in your backyard. So we smelled a lot of fresh cut
Chuck's
hay
looking to the left.
in Pennsylvania.
He's in Chuck's spare bedroom.
Is he out there? Yeah.
Where are you,
The
Mark?
Zoom call is coming from inside the house.
5 points.
I am in Pennsylvania.
Are you really? Oh, great.
Yes. At Hershey Park.
Oh, really? Oh my God.
That explains
Okay.
the undisclosed location in your background.
Yes, we have to.
Yeah,
have
it's
to
just
talk later.
just a hotel suite. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, we can talk via iPhone later.
Yeah, definitely. Gee, I had no idea. Well, we've talked about shortcuts. We were just sort of wrapping up. Any thoughts on WWDC announcements that didn't make the big time, that were small and relatively maybe not unimportant, but came out after the fact? Anything that you saw that struck you?
One thing did, I don't know if I'm sure it has probably been commented on. I guess the fact that Apple will do a secure relay, so that will help people maintain an even higher level of security and protection. So I imagine that's making the people who make buku bucks selling, invading and selling and tricking people and giving up their personal data. I imagine that they probably soiled their underwear last Monday when they heard what Apple rolled out.
It's going to be interesting to watch that particular feature get dissected. I know Dave Hamilton did some research on it for a Mac Observer article that was very good, and I think there's going to be more coming out so that we all understand exactly what's going on. how much of our traffic can go through there and what the implications are. But at the very least, it's just one more thing that Apple gives you from a security standpoint that is beneficial. Kelly, you said you had one more thing to call out.
Yeah, a thing that I'm not so much interested in the fact that they announced it, but I'm really interested to see where it's going to go. And that is allowing the SLED on third-party devices. And because they mentioned it as part of the model house thing. I think everybody was distracted by looking at the stuff in the model home, and so like we didn't really pay attention to what they were telling us at that point. But and I think it came like hot on the heels of we're working with all these companies on door locks that you can unlock with your watch and with your phone. And that also sounds awesome. I am super duper excited about that because more than one time we've had this conversation in my house about being able to like unlock it with your watch. But aside from that, they talked about the assistant coming to third-party devices. And the thing that is the most interesting to me about that is that it feels like this is me being terribly optimistic. I'm a very optimistic person about stuff like this. And this is me trying to give Apple a ton of credit. So what I'm hoping is that what happens with this is that the S Lady ends up sort of being forced to compete with the other devices, with the other assistants, that she has to compete with the A Lady, that she's going to have to compete with the Google one, because if they're going to make it available, nobody's going to want it on their devices if it sucks. So I feel like this is partly like Apple's opportunity to really show off what she can do to either turn it into something awesome, or they've been doing a bunch of stuff that we just haven't seen roll out yet that is going to come out and is going to be something that's going to be worth having on your Sonos speaker, on your other devices, like the other things that they're going to put out where you can talk to the S Lady. I feel like that's going to have to be a thing that happens. And so I'm really looking forward to what that ends up being, because we haven't heard a lot about that. And that feels like a thing that Apple was very, very much going to keep to themselves, like forever, because she's pushing 10. I just talked to Dan Morin on Daily Observations last week. No, not last week, 2 weeks ago. The week before Dub Dub, I had Dan Morin on, and we talked about how she's pushing 10 years old, because this fall Siri will be 10 years old. Jeez. And part of why that's notable is because it doesn't feel like she ever went through the revolution that everything else did. Like, she didn't get an iOS 7 style revolution. She didn't get a going to Touch ID from a home button revolution. She didn't get Touch ID to Face ID. Like, there's never been the big change. There's never been the moment when they stop everything in the iOS preview and go, okay, look, we're going to talk about the assistant in your phone and how much more awesome she is and how much better she is at everything than she used to be and how great it is. Like, we've gotten improvements in the voice. We've gotten some improvements in the variety of things that you can ask her. But I really want to know where this is going to go, because hopefully what's going to happen is that it needs to be worth people bothering to integrate it. And I hope that Apple has committed to that and turned it into something that's going to be worth other companies paying attention to and going, yeah, because you can buy a lot of things now that have the other two assistants on them. You can buy things that have an A Lady and a G Lady on them, but you can't buy anything that has all three. And now that Apple has done that, I'm very curious to see where that's going to go. Because the thing we got a lot in this keynote was, here's who we're teaming up with to bring you this thing that's awesome. Right. And this is one of the ones I want to see the most.
Cletus Cletus Heaps in the YouTube chat says smart homes are the new me, because he was saying Siri appliances. And yeah, I'm with you, Kelly. I think it's going to be very interesting to see how this does develop, and whether the other two smart assistants will fight back and maybe even try to elbow Siri out of the picture. Meant that I think would be a mistake from a device manufacturer standpoint, because you're right. If I knew that I could buy something that could handle all three and not lose the security that Siri offers me, that would be the product I would gravitate to.
Right. Well, I had Jay on Daily Observations last week as one of the developers in my developer spotlight. And Jay and I talked about how at Google I/O, I don't know if we made it to the assistant, but we talked about how there were a number of things that they announced that really made it sound like Android was straight up coming for iOS. And it's going to be interesting to see what Apple's response to that sort of thing is. And
Yeah.
the assistant was one of the things that they stopped and talked about during Google I/O, if I'm not mistaken, right, Jay?
That was one of them, but I think the machine learning battlefield is still going on everywhere. I mean, to bring up Chuck, remember, I hope you took your blood pressure medicine. To bring up Microsoft Build, I mean, they literally showed the entire logistics like pipeline from brewer's yeast to being dropped off at the store, being virtualized. And showing how they can track every single bottle of beer that leaves, that is manufactured and leaves that thing up until they hand it off to the grocery store, the convenience store, the liquor store. And I think obviously Apple isn't playing in that space. Apple does not do the whole big business logistics thing. They don't have a Azure or AWS competitor. But I think what's happening is all of these companies are really wanting to provide a show of force of like, here's how strong our machine learning, here's how strong our AI is. Because honestly, that's what the market's asking for is more AI, more machine learning, self-driving, self-operating, self-doing all the things other than self-making phone calls because you have a robot in the tube that can do that for you. But the thing that I think will happen with all of these competitors is the same thing that's happening in the video game console wars that is happening at the moment. You have a couple of places, I like to consider Apple the Nintendo here, where they've always kind of just done their own thing, kept to themselves. The people that love them, and it's perfect. But then you have like this mic, or you have the Xbox, and then you have the PlayStation, where they've constantly fought for exclusives. And now what they're doing is they're saying, we want exclusives on specific versions of the game. Ultra high def coming to PlayStation 5 first. Oh, this system now on Game Pass where you can play it on your TV without ever having an Xbox. I see Apple, Amazon, Google. I see all of them starting to do this, especially when we start talking about what is it called? Matter? Is that the conglomerate thing that they're trying to do?
Well, that's got something to do with HomeKit.
And
Yeah.
all the HomeKit stuff.
The Smart Home Alliance thing got a better name.
So yeah, it'll be nice when they say, oh yeah, no, everybody, let's play nice. But then what they'll do is Apple will go over to 12 South and, grab them by the collar and hold them against the lockers and go, no, you're not going to use any of that Android stuff, are you? And then, Amazon, who I forgot who their CEO is now, but they're not going to grab Ecobee, but they'll grab someone else and they'll hold them against the lockers and go, no, you're not going to use any of that HomeKit stuff, are you? And they'll basically start inking out these exclusivity deals that we see in the video game industry that we've just kind of gotten used to. And the end result is the same thing that happens with video games. You just wind up buying everything. And you say, well, my doorbell still works on this. My AC works on this, my TV works on this, which is exactly what this whole consortium is designed to prevent. But again, show of force, great theatrics on the front. You go on stage and you go, we're working together. Government, please don't break us apart. And then you go behind the back of the school and you go, hey, look, I'm going to need you to play ball, right?
I struggle with this, Jay, because I guess I look at it from the opposite side. I see that some of the features and everything, they're differentiators to me. Is why would I buy? I mean, why wouldn't I just go and buy, an Acme smart home assistant if it responds to the same things and does everything else that each one of the others does? So if I'm Apple, if I'm Google, if I'm Amazon, I'm going to want to put differentiators in there. And I don't think that's a bad thing.
I'm not going to give my mom an HomeKit device. One, because she can't remember the name Siri. So that'll be Sarah, it'll be Serena, it'll be whoever. And I don't want her calling me. I would prefer to give her a Google device because again, Alicia, Alessandra, all of these names, just hey, Google, like perfect. And she calls me, I'll say, you have to say okay first. And then she goes, okay, then Google. And then it works and everybody's happy. And I think that's what's going to prevent people outside of the nerdistry, again, from investing in these things. How well does it work the first time you try to use it? If it doesn't work well the first time you try to use it and you go, I need to get one of these for my parents. Nope, I'm going to go get the easiest possible thing because I have to support
People
that.
will stop trusting a thing if it's even only at a 90% success rate.
Yep.
Fair point.
I mean, I'm going to keep trying because like, that's what I do is I test the boundaries of weird tech things. Hi, this is my Carry phone. And it's on iOS 15, but that's me. And even I lose patience real fast with a lot of things. I was so excited when HomeKit was announced, but I didn't actually get any HomeKit devices until last year because they just weren't there yet. And even still, they stop my regular shortcuts dead if anything doesn't respond for any reason. And my shortcuts are often 400 actions long, and that is an unacceptable situation.
All of my HomeKit devices just tell me like, I'm sorry, who's speaking? And I'm like, I'm the only male in the house. Like my voice is
also, does it matter if I just told you to
lower
turn on the lights?
and everything? Yeah, exactly. Who cares who I am? Turn on the lights.
No, I actually don't get who are you very
Open
often.
the
although I did
pod bay
recently.
doors.
Open the hot bay doors, Siri.
So Cletus in the chat room, please don't do this again, Cletus. He says Jay's sort of right. We don't need to encourage Jay. And Brittany,
fun if you do.
But Brittany, you kind of encourage Jay too. So
that's good.
But his comment is, but smart homes are coming, and there will be integrated systems for the end user. And I agree. I just think there will also be. I mean, you can have integrated systems and still have some differentiators. I think.
Absolutely.
And that's
and I can tell you what Apple's betting on with the Matter thing is they're betting on that their interface is better. And the people who like their stuff will like their interface better. And they want to make sure that all of that stuff that says works with Alexa that you can buy on Amazon will also work on their stuff. And
that's the secret is it's the ecosystem that you're tying into.
I don't know what's in
one
it
of those,
for Google and Amazon.
Data.
Apple also did a differentiator with Siri, which is that it's on device now.
Mm-hmm.
I know, and I really hope by the time the major release comes out that it gets a lot better. Siri got a lot dumber for me in the last week.
Exactly what I'm saying. Yeah.
I need to file my
really
feedbacks
positive
and all that.
About that.
No, it's a wonderful thing, and I'm really excited for it. And I hope they work out the kinks that make it so much dumber than it was 2 weeks ago on my phone.
Hey, I want to jump in real quick. Jay has to go, and I know it. So, Jay, I want to say thanks for being here as always. It's always fun. We always have a lot of laughs. Where can folks find you when you're not here laughing with us?
Twitter and YouTube at KJY Miller. Also, just as I always like to say, this weekend, as we're recording this, is Juneteenth. It is officially now a federal holiday, so happy Juneteenth, everyone. And I also want people to just take some time and think about that. There's still people's great grandparents were slaves. My great grandparents were slaves, and I was alive when my great grandmother would tell me stories about them. So it still is very relevant. It's still very present for many of us out there. So happy Juneteenth, everybody, and hopefully I'll see y'all next week.
Thanks so much, Jay. Good to see you.
Happy Juneteenth to you.
Thank you. Have a good Juneteenth, Doc.
Take care. Brittany, I hope I'm pronouncing it right. Nikisha? I hope that I've got that right. Nikisha.
Nikisha
says 400 actions. And I would say the same thing. 400 actions in a shortcut, Brittany? What does it do?
How long does it take to run?
Well, it stops and asks me things. Sometimes I find it easier to launch one shortcut multiple times and just have it prompt me for the right set of next actions.
It asks her, why am I so long?
So you're creating
They
almost
don't
your own
ask
little.
that.
Is it like a multiple choice thing? Like, you touch it and you could turn on the kitchen lights, the living room lights, the bedroom lights, the basement lights.
That would only be like 20 actions at most.
Well, but conceptually,
But-
that's what you're talking about.
Yeah. And this is a lot more relevant for my ADHD peeps out there than it is for the general tech population. But I have them to help me with my routines in the morning getting ready. And they'll prompt me, hey, how's this thing? Like, here's the next thing, right? Like, I mean, down to, okay, now do push-ups. And then timer goes for the duration it should be for push-ups. Like, because I'm really dumb at 4 a.m. I don't know about anybody else, but I'm kind of stupid and I need to be told the next thing to do.
I'm sleeping at 4 a.m.
Interesting. Yeah. Interesting.
I'm thinking about sleeping at 4 a.m.
And
Nikisha
and
had a
the
good
really
point.
sad
What-
thing is that involves embedded shortcuts too.
What doesn't it do? Said
Yeah.
Nikisha in the chat room, and I think that's
Yeah.
fair.
Really.
It doesn't start my car, but in all fairness, my car is like a 2009.
Mark, are you using shortcuts at all at this point?
Not yet, but now that they're coming to Mac, I'm very intrigued because.
So are you mostly a Mac guy, Mark?
Well, it depends what you do. Yeah, I do a hell of a lot of stuff on, there's stuff, when I do real work and I create stuff, I do it on Mac, iPhone, and iPad. Well, iPhone I use for all sorts of things. iPad is predominantly consuming media and email, but because multitasking on iPad is such a pain in the butt.
Supposed to be
Yeah.
getting better. I've been feeling
I-
super tempted to put the beta on my iPad.
Okay, well, we'll have to see. It may get better. I mean, they gave us a great speech.
Theoretically, it's
a couple
getting better.
years ago about it getting better. So,
Yeah.
once bitten, twice shy. So,
Mhm.
once burned, twice shy. So we'll wait and see. But again, I don't want the iPad.
The
to create
90%
stuff. For me,
thing.
that's the purpose of a Mac. The iPad is for occasion for things like this, and watching YouTube videos and whatever.
That's what I love about
So-
this panel, because you have those of us who are really steeped in the Mac,
325.
and we're working over on our iOS and iPad devices, trying to integrate them in and get used to them and be productive with them. Then we have people like Brittany and Andrew who are 1 or 2 years younger than the rest of us and have really jumped headlong into the iOS ecosystem. And then there's some that are a little more in the middle. So yeah, I love the exchange of stuff here that goes along here.
And I was an early mobile person, Chuck. I mean, I had my Pocket PC and I used it for bloody everything. I never had an Apple product until 2008, so that's why it was a Pocket PC. But I had my Excel spreadsheets on there, and I actually lost functionality when I got an iPhone. I gained internet that actually worked, but on my phone instead of not quite working. But I lost. I didn't have Excel for a couple of years at least, or something
Less,
like
yeah.
that. And so but I've always been mobile because I like being on the go. And I like
Okay.
to be able to do something anywhere.
Yeah, but we're going to wrap this up in a second, but I can't leave it alone, Brittany. So earlier you were talking about shortcuts and numbers. So are you using Excel on your iOS device, or are you in
This is
your
about
iPad?
Excel was back when I was a Windows person.
Right, but Excel
Before I had the identity
yeah.
change that gave me surgery for that. or
right,
something.
but
Witness
Excel
protection.
but it still exists over on this side, and so I guess what I'm okay. That's
Well,
not,
numbers is so much easier on the eyes. I mean, I had to my really big spreadsheets, I had to because they handle formulas slightly differently. So I had to play with my functions until they got working again on my really complicated spreadsheets. But no, I moved to numbers. And I had some things, I still have some things that are in Google Sheets because they're easier to automate over the internet, or because I share them with people. But for my personal stuff, it's numbers. And this one I'd been wanting to automate for, I don't know, 10 years. And I finally got to in the last couple of years. So it was pretty exciting. So no, I'm on numbers if I can, Google Sheets if I can't.
Okay. And Excel is completely retired.
I don't have any Microsoft license anymore. I haven't had it on my computers in years.
Interesting.
I can open everything. And
Yeah.
again,
same.
I'm self-employed. Nobody can tell me what to do.
Right.
I can just say I can't open your document. I'm
Brittany,
sorry.
Yeah, Brittany gets to dictate her own her own corporate policy, so she can say like, yeah, your
Cool.
Excel spreadsheet.
But mostly it's Word, and that works fine in Pages. It's not a big deal.
Word's not a big deal.
David, there's some people we should tell these stories to.
For sure.
I can tell them. I can attest. I can preach
Okay.
it.
Brittany will get you some robes, and yes, we will.
They have to
Yes,
be
Rose.
red.
Definitely red robes. Okay, guys. Once again, we don't get to all the things because we dive into so many of these deeply. Thank you very much for all your comments and thoughts. And folks, I hope you found them interesting. We got a little geekier tonight, maybe than we usually do, but I think some of this stuff is important because what we're talking about now is what we will be using for years to come, most likely. So let's go around the room, find out where everybody can be found, and then we'll get out of here. So this time I'm going to, I'll start again from the top because you guys have been turning your cameras on and off, so you keep jumping order. So starting us off, Mr. Andrew Orr. Andrew.
Hey, you can find me writing about Apple and technology and privacy and security at the macobserver.com. Kelly and I can be found on our podcast, TDO, Daily Observations Podcast. And I'm usually mostly on the Friday show, which is when we talk about all the security news of the week. And you can also find me on Twitter at Andrew or Not.
Great. Thanks so much, Andrew. Great to have you as always. Jim Ray, will we see a new background next week, or are you still going to hold on to Dub?
Sure, I'll change it.
Difficult to
Okay.
say. Always in motion is the future.
Where can we find you, Jim?
Fuzzy. Well, if you need to organize your information on a Mac, check out proview.com. And for my personal stuff on Twitter at ProviewJim.
Great. Thank you, Jim. Good to see you. Mr. Petrie, where can we find you?
I'm here on Tuesday nights. You can find me on Screencast Online Magazine once a month. I have my own blog, ympnow.com. And on the tweets, I'm at fpetrie. On Instagram, I'm at PHRANKY. Why?
Thanks, Frank.
Because we love you.
Thanks, Frank. Good to have you.
Well,
Ms.
thanks for-
Dumont,
Yes.
where can we find you?
Good Lord, I'm not even sure anymore. You can find me on Twitter as Verso. If you can't get enough of me every place else, and all of those places are The Incomparable, where you can find me on my own podcast with Don Melton and Lisa Schmeiser, where we talk about the latest Marvel Universe program on Disney Plus. It's called I Want My MCU TV. If Westworld ever comes back, you can find me on Greetings from the Uncanny Valley over there as well. The rest of the time, I am an occasional panelist on other Incomparable shows. You can also find me 5 days a week, as Andrew mentioned, over at the Mac Observer, where I do the Mac Observer Daily Observations podcast every weekday. Occasionally, when Mike Rose and I find time to get together and record a thing, you can find me on the after show at aftershowpodcast.com. And this Friday, in a very exclusive engagement, you can find me as the officiant of a wedding ceremony for one Brittany Smith.
Very nice.
Say what? Say what? You're,
I'm marrying Brittany on Friday.
That's what she's
Oh,
doing.
interesting.
you are you're officiating. You're not. Yeah.
Oh yes, I'm official.
Yeah.
I mean, the verb is marrying, but
She's ordained.
she's also
Sit with that
Yeah.
for a minute, Chuck. I'm official.
You're ordained as what?
I'm ordained as a minister in the Universal Life Church.
Okay. I'm speechless. I don't know what to say. So
I got ordained in the 90s because it seemed like it might be an interesting thing to do. In case I ever knew anybody that wanted to get married, and this was the sort of lowest hurdle that you could do. The guy that founded the Universal Life Church once ordained the entire crowd at a Grateful Dead show in the 60s. And so this seemed like exactly the kind of church I wanted to be part of, which is basically like, you should be cool to people when you get the opportunity. That's sort of their whole ethos. And I figured that was something I could get behind. So you can go to ulchq.com, not the other one. Apparently it's a whole thing. But if you go to ulchq.com, you too can get ordained, and then you can order official credentials from them. And they will allow you in some states, Oregon being one of them, to be a person who marries other people. And so that's what I'm doing.
great. I don't even know what to say about it.
I don't know which part you're more horrified about, Chuck.
I'm not sure which part is the part that you're having trouble with, but here we are.
The fact that she's ordained, or that forever when she introduces me to new people at Apple events, she can say, "Hi, this is Brittany. I married her."
Yeah, there's so many things that are just up in the air with this one. I got to think about it.
Oh, it's a shame Guy isn't
You
here.
really disrupted his sleep tonight, though, and I'm pretty stoked about that.
I'm actually sad we didn't get to explode Guy's head with this little tidbit of
Yeah, that is a little
That would've been
sad.
fun. Yeah.
Yeah, Cleta says the Reverend Kelly. That's terrifying right there.
Hey.
David
I'm
Ginsburg.
calling her that now.
Let's start calling her Rev.
I tell everybody to be excellent to each other. That's how I end the podcast 5 days a week. That's basically like the whole motivation behind the Universal Life Church. Like, that's sort of what they stand for, is like, be excellent to each other. So like, of course I was going to do that. So, anyway. Yeah.
David, get me out of here. where can folks find you?
You can find me at In Touch with iOS at intouchwithios.com. You can find me on the Mac Show on Fridays, usually on the British Tech Network. You can find me here on MacVoices Live and on Mac to the Future Go livecast with the aforementioned Guy Searle and Noel Warren. And you can find me on Twitter at DaveG65. Thanks for having me.
Thank you, David. Thank you. Mr. Fuccio, I would suspect that maybe we can find you tomorrow riding one of the roller coasters at Hershey Park. But other than that, where can we find you?
Negative. No roller coasters for us.
No roller.
For the next couple of weeks, we have as follow on to last week, we have about 3 more weeks of travel. So be in and out. And after that, best place Twitter at MARKFUCCIO, Mark Fuccio.
Great. Well, safe travels. Anytime you can check in here on Tuesday nights, we'd love to have you, obviously. So we're from wherever you are.
Yeah, well, certainly later in the summer. No guarantees about the next couple of weeks.
Understood. Last but not least, the bride herself. First off, congratulations, Brittany. Second, do we have any updates on the wedding dress or the wedding attire?
I mean, do you want them? It's a tech podcast.
Mermaid.
Oh, but you're part of the family.
I'm
here,
not going to be a mermaid. If somebody offers to make you the Princess Leia medal ceremony gown, you don't say no. So that's what I'm wearing.
Very nice. Will you be carrying lightsabers?
No.
Now, is the groom going to dress up as Darth Vader?
That would be inappropriate.
Please.
He's going to be Han.
Oh my God.
Frank, I think you need to brush up on your Star Wars. I'm not sure.
That's,
sorry.
I mean, I know
Really not how
incest
that
is a
works.
strong part of it. They just never went there.
So this will be no serious. I'm serious questions here. This will be a Star Wars oriented wedding.
Wedding is such an interesting term. It is a Star Wars themed glorified elopement. Did you know you can't get married in a courthouse during COVID? Because you can't.
No, really.
Oh.
Okay.
So yeah, not here. Anyway.
Okay.
So yeah.
Well,
what glorified elopement.
Okay. Well, I've never heard of that, but that works. Should we ask what the officiator will be wearing?
You should.
You can ask.
What officiator? What are you wearing?
Oh,
it's-
you can ask.
It's gonna be Jedi robes. Anybody that remembers my the outfit I assembled to go see episode 9 with Brittany, it will be partly that outfit with a couple of other pieces swapped out to look more official, or because I'm official.
Okay. Well, we definitely need pictures.
Jedi robes is gonna be like it's
Yeah.
gonna be a Jedi outfit for anybody that had any doubt or any question about what was actually happening. Yes, Brittany asked me, would you dress up like a Jedi and marry us? And my answer was, just tell me when and where I need to be there. That was really all it took.
Pretty much.
Share pictures.
But yeah, share pictures, whether
course.
wherever they're going to be.
We
'cause-
don't have a photographer yet.
Yeah,
No,
but
we'll have-
everybody has an iPhone.
There will
Yeah, I
be
was just gonna
photos.
say.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You say everyone like there's guests. And
You
there's
have an
not.
iPhone. Kelly
I
has
don't
an
have
iPhone.
pockets in that dress.
There are no pockets in that dress. Yeah.
So
Will family members be attending? I mean, give them iPhones.
yeah, there's anyway.
Yeah.
well,
Yeah, Brittany,
it's a
we need to
thing
talk
we're
about
working
that.
on, put it that way.
I'm gonna probably be entrusting my phone to a member of your family in order to make this happen.
Probably.
Because yeah,
Okay.
because
Probably.
Well, if there's any interest in it, I would be more than happy to loan you the MacVoices Zoom account and live feed so that it could be live streamed. So we can talk about that.
Oh,
Cool.
No.
We do not have enough people. I need someone to work the mouse droid, which is the ring bearer, and I need somebody to start the music shortcuts on my phone, and then somebody to take pictures. Like there's only like 10 people there.
I was gonna say that's like half the guest list right there, just in those things. Yeah.
so you need
No,
CBS.
it's more than the guest list.
Okay, so if you're anywhere, Brittany, where are you guys getting married?
That seems
I
like a
mean-
really dangerous thing to answer right now.
Well, I
Something
mean-
that loosely resembles the lake at Naboo. How's that?
Well, no, I meant, what,
We're in Oregon.
what's in Oregon. So if you're
Ooh.
anywhere near Oregon and would like to be tech support for Brittany's wedding, drop me an email and I'll put you in touch. Okay, because they need help.
No, I
Free
once-
on Friday.
Was a wedding photographer at one point.
But this isn't like we didn't really need a wedding
If you
photographer.
get in the
There's like
car
10
now,
people there.
Andrew.
Yeah.
I'm gonna where do I book a plane ticket?
Online.
I don't think you
Online.
can. I don't
Where
think you
have
can
you
fly
gone
into-
to, Andrew?
Hey, S lady.
Yes.
I think Andrew, you'd have to fly into PDX and you can ride with me.
Okay, cool.
And you note how Andrew has suddenly become a floating head in the darkness. So,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Andrew, I
He's
need you to sing Bohemian Rhapsody now.
Yeah,
no.
it's kind of what he's set up
He's going to be
for.
in Lindsay's story on Apple TV
I'm
Plus.
just a poor
Yeah.
boy, nobody loves me.
but hey,
Come
we
on.
do. We have an endorsement from the chat room. Webb says a MacVoices live special event. I like it. Yeah.
Yeah.
So there you go. There you go. Brittany, thank you. So first of all, congratulations. Thank you so much for being here. We will not expect to see you back for what, a week, 2 weeks, whatever the however long
At
the
least a
honeymoon
week.
lasts?
Yeah, I'm not allowed to work till Wednesday.
Okay, great.
Where can people find you
Great.
in the meantime? Because I don't think we ever got that far. We got
Yeah,
derailed.
Yeah, I don't
with,
think we did
Yeah.
either.
Kelly's
Yeah,
gonna
we-
I may
dress up
not
like
be
a Jedi.
responding, but for a week, but my Twitter handle is ADT Liberator. And apparently it hadn't been obvious. It's pronounced ad liberator. I just say it that way for the spelling of Twitter. And my website is conquer.consulting.
Great. Congratulations. I hope you have a great
Yeah,
wedding
congrats.
or
Thanks.
what was it? What kind of elopement? Enhanced elopement?
Glorified.
Glorified elopement and
Oh.
a terrific honeymoon.
Elopement plus. That's the phrase that
Oh, that's what everybody's
Is-
using these days.
elopement
go.
plus.
Yeah.
Is plus. You just add
Oh.
plus and charge more money.
Yes. Folks, I'm Chuck Joyner. Nobody but Brittany is getting married here, so you don't have to worry about that. We do this craziness every Tuesday night, 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific. We'd love to have you join us in the chat room. Thank you to the chat room tonight. They were a little quiet getting out of the gate, but they kind of warmed up now, so they're rolling. I don't know what it'll be in the next half hour. But until the next time, and as always, thanks for watching. Okay. Thank you, guys. That, jeez, started out with that, ends with that. No, congratulations. I mean, I knew it was coming up, Brittany, but I had no idea it was quite this close.
Yeah. Yeah.
So impressive.
We moved it up. We were talking about maybe July, and my mom said, because we were just gonna have parents. Because my fiance only has his mom left. And so so we had said, oh, maybe we're gonna do that. And my mom goes, your
Not
sister's
yet.
visiting for 2 weeks. If you get married right after she leaves, she will be very sad. So we're like, okay, I guess we can do it that soon.
You have to call for. Exactly.
Well, like you said, when it's a glorified elopement, that makes it a little bit easier to schedule some things, I'm sure.
Yeah. There's not
Or
much to
I
schedule.
don't- Yeah. Well, that's
You,
great.
you actually
That's
only
great.
need a permit if you've got like over a certain number of people, and we do not have that number of people. We're just gonna show up and hope nobody's at the spot we want.
And if they are, throw them out.
We'll play the wedding card.
Can you move
Well-
for like 20 minutes? Because we have a thing and then we'll be out of your way.
Yeah,
Thanks.
and then we'll be out.
Well, and the fact that you're all walking in there or to the location wearing Star Wars gear.
Oh, we're gonna roll in
We
completely.
can
correct.
change
Yeah.
there. We're bringing a motorhome.
Yeah, but I mean, they may be concerned that they would rather be somewhere else when this whole
Oh
horde of
yeah, I
Star
mean
Wars
this is
people-
serious. We've got blasters
right.
and stuff.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
there
exactly.
are blasters involved. Yeah.
Mhm.
Exactly. Wow. Okay.
Did nobody see the pictures I posted in the before of like Brittany and I and
Yeah, I
a
saw
bunch-
'em.
It was like one of the
Yeah.
last big things we did with people in public.
It was probably the last actual thing I did with a number of other people in public was go to that movie.
Yeah.
So yeah, in
Yeah.
costume. Because there was a place here that took it very seriously. And so they
Yeah.
had an event. And so there was themed food and you got like buffet access. Remember buffets? And then each of the theaters that they have is a very small, they're all like pretty small theaters. And then they have these projections on the sides that are like windows. So you're like sitting in a living room because it's not theater seating either. It's like couches and chairs and things. And then the walls are projections of like different cities. So today you're seeing your movie in the London theater. So you look out and you see like the Tower of London and London Bridge and all that. And then in Paris you see the Eiffel Tower, and in Tokyo you see like the skyline. And
But for
different things.
this event,
They were all Star Wars themed. And so I called them immediately and went, I need to make sure that we are in a room that we approve of. This is serious business. And so we managed to get tickets, and we got to be, we were in Dagobah, and it was terribly exciting. And we all got to go, and we all wore costumes, and it was super great. Like all of the people that worked there were dressed as different folks. Like the bartender was Lando Calrissian. It was great. We had like an Imperial Guard escorted us to our seats. It was super awesome. So yeah, we did a great big nerdy thing, and it was amazing. And we had so much fun. And I built my own costume with the help of Brittany's amazing on top costume designer, aka her mom. And that's where my outfit came from. So all those pictures that I posted and pictures that Brittany posted, like they're on Instagram. If you scroll way back, you can see us doing ridiculous Star Wars things in outfits, and we made those outfits.
and the really
I
nice
made my
thing about a
outfit.
Jedi tunic is my sister's wearing my old one, and it's actually really convenient if you have an infant and need to go take a mom's break.
Yep.
So they just wrap around.
Okay. Well,
Yeah.
good to know.
This is a geeky episode.
It is.
This
Yeah.
is so far off the rails. I mean, it feels like it should be a whole new podcast of some kind.
I mean, maybe.
Star Wars weddings or something.
know.
But here's the thing: if you Google Star Wars weddings, because we tried for a night, like we were looking up pictures, it's mostly like really obnoxious normal weddings that make you kind of like a little bit queasy with all the lace and crap, with like, Han Solo cufflinks and stuff.
Yeah.
Like it's
Mm.
kind of lame.
Yeah.
So,
They were not neat. Y'all, I'm here to tell you. They were
or
not neat.
or it was like a super expensive wedding, and they're like, and we hired stormtroopers to come in.
Hmm.
And it's just, I can't tell you how much that lace and garbage has just holds zero interest for me.
Sounds like a roadside attraction.
basically like it
Cletus-
was not- it was
Cletus in the chat room says, I really want to see this.
I mean, we're just
Oh.
having most
we'll have
of the
some
people
pictures one way or another.
show up.
You know.
Good.
Yeah.
Like I
Good.
told Brittany, you only get to do this like 3 or 4 times in your life, so you really need to make it count.
Yeah.
Jeez.
Okay,
Oh, my
well,
Lord.
Oh,
love the
no.
positive attitude.
On that note,
It's a
Here
joke, but
once,
this
that
actually
was
isn't my
it.
first marriage.
It's a joke, but also I know that this is not the 1st
You're
time
going
she's
in for
gone
a
down
second?
the aisle in a white dress. So, you know.
Yeah.
Oh
I didn't say
man,
which
I
one it
did one.
was.
That was enough.
All I said was it's not the first. I didn't say what number it was. I just said it's not the first one.
See these? These?
Yeah.
How many times
you see-
he's
do you
been
see-
married?
No. Do you see anything on them? You will not see
No.
anything on these.
See,
No.
twice was enough for Chuck.
Calluses from golfing.
No, Kelly. Not twice, not once, not
No,
ever.
I'm kidding. Yeah.
No.
No. It took
Nope.
my dad a while. He's on wife number 3. We like her.
Oh, God.
this is
I have a friend whose uncle is on like 7 or something. It's really
What?
Yeah. Oh,
How
yeah, my
old
dad,
is he?
yeah. My
35.
dad's mom
No.
was on 5 or 6. I don't remember what number when she passed away. She outlived the last one, but I don't remember if he was number 5 or number 6. No, my stepmonster and I got along like 2 cats in a sack, so I'm glad she's out of the picture. But the new one we like.
So
Number 9. Number 9.
okay. I
this keeps going.
So,
I know,
so
just-
you're
just-
really happy for me, is what you're saying with all of your marriage is the worst talk. That's what you're saying, Chuck.
Oh no, I am happy. I'm thrilled. I'm thrilled it's you and not me. I think that's the best part.
Oh, I thought you could see that coming up Broad Street.
I wasn't gonna say anything, Brittany, but Chuck gave me a video toast for you, and that's what it was. Hi, Brittany, better you than me. And then, you know,
Here's the thing. I
Oh.
mean, for me, it's such a low bar. He can't not hit above it.
Oh,
I want no part of that discussion.
Oh,
I want no part of that discussion.
we're going to talk
He's
about
young and has
bars.
terrible taste.
Huh?
We're going to talk about bars.
Actual bars? What?
That got me through my first marriage.
Oh.
Rim shot. Okay, guys, I'm going to shut the live stream down. Chat room, thanks so much. It's great to
I'm
see
so
you.
sorry.
We'll see
remember
you next,
live
next
stream
Tuesday.
for an additional monthly fee. You can get access to all this in MacVoices After Dark.
Yes,
That's
Yeah,
right.
I'm already
And-
in After Dark.
See?
Yeah.
Yeah. And
That's how
tonight's
you can tell.
tonight's second collection is for After Dark.
Yeah. When
Yes.
Andrew turns into the Bohemian Rhapsody video, you know it's After Dark.
And so, what I want you to do out there, everybody, whether you're listening, no, that's right. We're not live anymore. Hit
Yeah, we
Twitter
are.
and hit Twitter. We're live in the chat room, but not in the show. But
I thought I was going to say I had a little pain in my side. We mean we're not live.
hit chat room and give Brittany best wishes, please.
Aw.
Go to Twitter, go to the chat room, and everywhere, and give Brittany best wishes.
Aw, thank you.
Chat room. We'll see you next week. Thanks so much.
Bye, chat room.